You think self-awareness makes you dangerous, but it may be the chain tightening quietly around your own mind.
What you call insight often behaves like surveillance, wearing the mask of maturity.
You no longer enter life directly. You enter it through a layer of constant internal commentary.
Every word gets reviewed before it leaves your mouth.
Every reaction gets judged before it fully lands.
Every mistake gets punished before anyone else even notices.
That is not freedom. That is elegant imprisonment.
Most people live from instinct, messy sometimes, but still connected to the moment itself.
You live above yourself, watching tone, posture, rhythm, and possible failure from a private tower.
Awareness is not the enemy.
The enemy is awareness, transformed into self-surveillance. Then natural human behavior gets dragged into manual control.
Presence weakens, instinct stiffens, and spontaneity starts to die.
Breathing proves the point, because once you watch it too closely, the body forgets how to flow.
You have done that to your personality.
Careful instead of present.
Polished instead of alive. Accurate instead of real.
In a London meeting, one challenge hits the table, and your nervous system prepares a trial.
While others stay in discussion, you defend identity, status, and worth at the same time. The second trap is calling hypervigilance wisdom, because it looks sophisticated from the outside.
Some of what you call sensitivity is simply a threat detector that never learned how to rest. At some point, missing a subtle cue became dangerous for you.
Maybe affection disappeared quickly.
Maybe anger entered rooms through tiny shifts in tone.
Maybe love felt conditional, unstable, or painfully difficult to predict.
So your system adapted by scanning everything.
Faces, pauses, delays, wording, silence, posture. All of it became survival data.
Now you call that empathy, because the label feels cleaner than fear.
But this is not deeper wisdom.
It is trauma-trained attention, reading ambiguity like an approaching threat.
A delayed reply becomes abandonment.
A brief message becomes rejection.
A neutral face becomes concealed contempt.
The nervous system does not ask whether danger is real, only whether it feels familiar.
That is why small moments can carry the force of very old pain.
In a Berlin office, one cold email becomes an entire private disaster before lunch.
Facts disappear, and imagination starts writing the script.
Fear always writes faster than reality.
A regulated mind asks what happened before asking what it means.
The third trap is darker, because intelligence learns to hide from pain using perfect vocabulary.
You say you are processing, but often you convert emotion into theory before it touches your body.
Sadness becomes attachment style. Shame becomes childhood conditioning.
Heartbreak becomes a pattern you can explain with elegant precision.
Psychology has a name for this: intellectualization.
It is the clinical art of killing a warm, living feeling, just so you can study it safely.
It sounds impressive because the language is precise.
But precision is not peace.
Description is not release.
A person can explain grief brilliantly and still never allow grief to move through them.
That is why some articulate people remain emotionally frozen for years.
They did not digest pain, they curated it.
In New York, someone explains a breakup beautifully over dinner and still shakes alone that night.
Friends admire the insight, yet the wound stays untouched.
Real feeling demands less explanation and more contact with the body.
Chest, throat, stomach, jaw, breath. That is where truth appears before language captures it.
Feel first, name later.
Otherwise, you embalm the emotion before it ever has a chance to leave. Self-awareness is a tool, and some of you are using it like a shovel.
Then comes the fourth trap: performing an autopsy on a version of yourself that is still alive.
Every reaction becomes evidence.
Every insecurity becomes another file.
Every flaw becomes material for prosecution.
You stop living from within and start observing yourself like hostile research.
That distance feels safe because observation imitates control.
But whatever gets watched that closely stops behaving naturally.
The self under scrutiny becomes stiff, artificial, cautious, and strangely theatrical.
You are not discovering identity. You are manufacturing a safer version for inspection.
That is why clarity alone changes so little.
You can know your patterns with painful accuracy and still remain trapped inside them.
The microscope never healed the wound. It only sharpened the image of it.
In Paris, you enter a date already reading chemistry, risks, red flags, and future collapse.
The other person feels your guardedness before they ever feel your warmth.
Then the connection dies, and your prediction feels correct.
But your vigilance helped create the ending you feared.
Hyper-awareness rarely predicts cleanly. It often interferes.
It alters behavior, drains warmth, and poisons the data it tries to measure.
You are not seeing yourself clearly under that microscope.
You are seeing yourself distorted by being watched.
This is where intelligence turns into paralysis.
Action need temporary blindness to noise and a willingness to move before certainty arrives.
You try to act while tracking consequences, motives, optics, reactions, losses, and hidden meanings simultaneously.
No system performs well under that much traffic.
The body wants motion, while the mind demands one more review.
Eventually, hesitation starts disguising itself as wisdom.
You call it patience, alignment, healing, or waiting for the right moment.
Often, it is only fear delaying exposure.
In Amsterdam, a strong proposal sits unfinished because you are still polishing what was already enough.
A less brilliant colleague submits first and captures the opportunity.
Overthinking did not protect your standard. It delayed your presence.
That is the cruelty of analysis paralysis. It rewards the bolder person, not always the deeper one.
There is another illusion here, the fantasy that total understanding will guarantee control.
If you map every trigger and weakness, nothing will ever blindside you again.
That fantasy sounds intelligent, but it is still fear wearing academic clothing.
Life rejects perfect models, and human beings refuse complete prediction.
Love stays risky, power stays unstable, and betrayal stays possible no matter how refined your framework becomes.
Strategic blindness is the exit, refusing useless information and choosing the next physical move instead.
In Dublin, you stop rereading the message, finish the work, make the call, and reclaim direction.
Shatter the magnifying glass. Burn the tower. Let life become messier than your theories. Before tonight ends, take one action your fear delayed for months and prove you are done watching yourself.